Hey guys, what's up? It's Schla coming back to ya with another episode of Car Rides with Schla, and it is day two. I was gonna say episode two, day two of stress and confusion. Basically, I've been talking about that, so you wonder where things will end up going, and this is going to be the earliest I'm getting out of here in a long time, which is good because that's what I wanted. And we might be leaving early today, so probably will be. We'll see. But yeah, probably will be. I don't know. I haven't, like, yesterday I thought I was kind of muscling through things well, and all that good stuff, but now it's kind of like, I'm not really sure. Like, my energy and my confidence is waning, you know? Pretty fast, by the way. As I think I said yesterday in the last Car Rides episode, I was acting like, yeah, I'm strong or whatever, but usually I'm not that strong. That's kind of the whole point. So I don't know. I mean, I basically just got home yesterday and went to sleep. So I think that's another thing. I did have dreams though, but by now, again, with all the morning rush, I usually forget them by the time I get to the car. It's almost like I need to just record immediately after waking up. I'd probably do that if I didn't have a job. I'd probably do it. But, you know, I have a job, so it's hard. You have to wake up, eat. If I skipped breakfast, then I'd be able to do what I'm talking about. Or I've thought about getting into a system where I eat breakfast at work, but I never got the proper bag to fit my 2 meal portions into it. But I guess I could start doing that. It's not like out of the question. Might make more sense than what I'm doing now. I don't really know. But it is what it is. We're not that early either, but it's probably like a minute earlier than the earliest record, so don't think when I say early we're like really early, but it is the earliest I've been in a noticeably long time that I can remember. Like, I think I've been pretty late for like the past couple times. So, yeah. Yeah. What can you do? The only thing I guess that crossed my mind is that GPT did reassure me that I don't really need to come out with any like crazy new philosophy or anything like that, because a lot of philosophers borrow work. Like, it's not like every philosopher is coming up with something brand new or groundbreaking, you know. And I guess it's about how you can orate. Well, it would be orator, so orate it. I doubt I'm saying that right, but I guess it's how you package it. I guess it's the way you can explain it. I think a lot of times, can the person put it into coherent words? That is a challenge or something. It's either a challenge or something noteworthy is how digestible the words are, how digestible the content is, and stuff like that. Which I think, if anything, that could be a bit of a problem for me, because I love to use a lot of advanced words and things like that I know of. I mean, I still don't feel like my vocabulary is all that great, but I know that it's better than most people just because I hear people talking. So it's definitely pretty up high, like, for some weird reason. Because I just I never even talk to people with as good of a vocabulary as me. So it's like, it's obviously way above average, but I'm not really in fields where there would be a high vocabulary necessarily, so that could really be anything. But yeah, I'm obviously tired. I'm worn. Kind of why I want to leave early today, to just get, a day of rest in after that day. You know what I mean? Might be a good idea. I think it is. But yeah, I guess, we're just chronicling things while they still are. It's all I can ever hold on to these days. You can't really get too excited about the future when it's just that extremely uncertain for months. You could argue years at this point. I just... It's interesting the ways... Yeah, it's just, it's hard, even if you're a person with good intentions, good ideas, care, compassion, all the good stuff. It becomes very difficult to find it. What am I talking about? It becomes very difficult for that to actually come through to anything. Because if you're in an environment where there's people who are, way too oversensitive and not willing to be reasonable, then you can't let, like, whatever you have can't shine. You can't have it shine. Even though I think and haven't even had this as bad as a lot of people. That's the thing, like, I easily admit. My family had its arguments and things like that. It did. But I think, honestly, it was probably more civilized than a lot of people's families. Probably. I think a lot of people had it, like, far worse. Deeply worse. And I think I've explained it before. The reason why I am this way that I am is because I was given so much alone time and free time in, like, a stable situation. Now, it didn't always feel stable, because, again, there still were arguments, like any family, really. But some people have like a dead state. There's obviously some people who are very privileged, and they either have, like, a truly wealthy upbringing, or a more stable, or like a mixture of both. I didn't really have that. And even towards the end of my life, the stability kind of vanished. The stability that was there kind of vanished. But there was still always so much alone time. There was a lot of respect for each other. And, me included, and, like, I wasn't really bothering anybody else. And so I think that civility is rare And it just highlights that point that, I mean, somebody could be trying to do good, but if you're stuck in a situation where, some people or somebody is just ruthless, it's really, you can't strike out of it. Even, it doesn't really matter how hard you try. If you put in, all the best thoughts and all the best explanations for people, it's just impossible. It's impossible to get through to people, and I think that's such a sad thing and a sad reality, is that that's where we're at. Like, I just don't know. I mean, I think about these things, but it's just amazing how naive I used to be. And I still think I have been, like, this whole time. Just really naive. And yeah, this whole time I still think I've been naive. Like, and it's I don't think it's a naivety out of stupidity. I think it's just having to realize just how low the bar is for most people. That's what I think it is. It's like the bar is really low. You know what I mean? Like, most people are just so, like, and it's, I don't think it's through a fault of their own, but it's where I'm at in comparison, the amount of thoughts I have, how deeply I think about and understand things. I mean, a lot of people just don't. And that's been the whole moral conundrum I keep thinking about, is like, there's a lot of people who are deeply, deeply evil, but like, they don't necessarily want to be. They're not even necessarily aware that they are. And so how do you give a consequence to something like that? Like, how do you even go there? Like, because you can't force someone to understand. It's like, obviously some people, they have a cognitive limit for how much math they can comprehend. Although, I guess you could get into, like, is that a mixture of executive laziness as well? Like, I wonder, because it's probably a mixture of things, right? When you're trying to learn something, there is a cognitive limit, but I think a lot of times it's more like it would take more time to learn the same thing. Like, let's say, like, one person has a much smarter brain, so it only takes them an hour to digest the lesson, whereas another person, their brain is just not as smart, so it might take them 5 hours to figure it out. And then by that point, it kind of defeats the purpose, if that makes any sense. Kind of defeats the purpose of even, and so they might not know, but I wonder if that's the case, or if there's a certain point where it's, like, truly impossible. But I think the human brain is pretty impressive. I just think it would take, like, effort for some people. But I'm curious as to what the actual answer to that is. I guess if I ever post this transcript in, I would find out. But that's kind of my theory, is that there may be a hard ceiling for some people, but I'm sure there's also, like, kind of what I'm describing, where there's more, it's more of like an efficiency ratio, if that makes sense, where it's more about, like, how fast someone can process something. But I think even if someone's pretty stupid, given enough time, they could probably figure it out. But there's an executive bandwidth that's going to get depleted very quick. I mean, there's patience. There's attention span. I am realizing, though, like, this does sound pretty stupid. Because obviously some people, their IQ's too low. They're probably just never going to be able to understand it. But what I'm saying is, it's not just intellect. It's also like patience. It's the ability to have like a higher attention span. It's a lot of other factors. Memory, right? I mean, if you don't have good memory, it's pretty difficult to learn and grow. Like you're kind of talked about this before. I mean, you get experience by growing older, but if your memory is poor, then you really haven't grown that much. Because if you only remember a few little things, but like that's the same as being a child, because a child has little experience, and if you only remember like a few things because your memory's poor, then that's no good. But yeah, it's really painful for me, like I just I want things to be better. I thought they would be better. And they just, I don't know, the second I started really trying to socialize, it became very clear to me that there are some deep problems, I just thought people would be relatively receptive to like the ideas and principles I had to say, but people are not. Like most of the people on Discord I would talk to, like they're still into energy drinks. They're still into like just eating a bunch of sugar. They're just like scrolling Instagram when I didn't even understand how Instagram worked back then. I thought it was just I still thought it was the square pictures. Because I didn't engage with that stuff, because it just seemed like not a good thing. And then to know that that's basically what anybody I was in a relationship or friend, like that's what they did. It's like a lot of mindless stuff. And of course there's layers to that too. I think there probably are some people where they use TikTok in a more mindful way, where they might see a certain thing and remember it and then have a conversation about it. I'm sure it's on there, like a deeper topic, but that's not what most people use it for. Most people use it for just a way to pass the time. And that's one of the things I realized is like I was waiting for people in the traditional way, caring and very cognizant of them, and other people were just forgetting you, just forgetting about you, getting distracted. And it's hurtful to me because of how aware of that I am. If I wasn't aware of it, I think most people just aren't that aware of it, right? So that's like another interest. And then people get mad at me for being too aware, because I'm realizing like they're cheating. They're cheating by having all that extra stimulation. Like they wouldn't even care if I had to go. You know what I mean? Like they just it wouldn't bother them if I had to go, because they would just swipe right to Instagram. Whereas like for me, like when somebody left, I felt that. And that's like a type of relationship that nobody is even used to anymore. Actually feeling things. When the person's gone, you feel sad and you miss them. You don't just flood your body with a bunch of distractions, so you can't really, you avoid processing the emotion. That's like the difference, I think, is people, they're not very reflective. They just can't be reflective anymore. I don't know, because how can you be reflective if you're on TikTok if you're on Instagram, that's like a lot of noise. That's like a ton of mental and visual noise and clutter. There's no way, if you need to do that after an argument, that you're going... I mean, it slows down the rate that you can process things. It slows it down a lot. That's obviously a problem, you know? It just is. Because in the past, nobody had access to things like that. I mean, you had to wait. You had to miss the person. You had to feel that feeling. And that's like the main difference, is just nobody... I literally... I don't think I've talked to anybody who knows how to process their emotions at all. Like, it's actually a huge problem. And I don't even think this is like that new of a thing. It's probably always been around for humanity. It's just that for a portion of humans, it got better with age. You know, for a portion of people, you know, they remembered things, and they weren't really that distracted. So, because you have to remember how much it changes people's ability to grow and process things. If the moments that were silent are now flooded with noise and visual stimulation. You know, like in the past, if you were in a car on a road trip, there was nothing to do. You might have tried to play some games, but that's ultimately not that stimulating. It's not going to leave like a deep imprint in your mind. Although actually it still probably did. You know, as a kid, I'm sure some people have some fond memories of playing games with their family. You know, this is before phones or headphones existed. Because, you know, prospectively it seemed fun, or it seemed like a big fun thing. But then nowadays, in comparison, TikTok can't compete with TikTok. So people have like a stronger stimulation, and they just go for it. They go for that stronger thing, and you have to think about, like, what does that do to a person's memory? What does that do to the way a person thinks? You know? And the truth is, it really stunts it. It really stunts people's growth and emotional development. And so you might have somebody who is the same age as you, but they're really not. They're not emotionally. Which is honestly probably why autism rates are going up. I really wouldn't be surprised if it's something as simple as that, where I'm certain that autism would be going up in a society like structured like this. I'm sure it would be, because I just think it's evident. If you don't have to go through emotional growth and development, then how are you going to develop neurotypically when that's like a thing that was needed? You know? How do we like just, I don't know, not even acknowledge it? I mean, when I talk about this stuff to other people, though, and nobody really gets it that much, like I literally think most people just don't even think about it, which is like pretty telling. It's just a lot of people don't think of things in this way. Might not understand it. You know, I'm not certain what the meaning is of it, but, or why I've always been so interested. I don't know. But I've always loved this kind of conversation for whatever reason. But yeah, I mean, I'm saying all this stuff, but it really doesn't make me feel better. I just want to try to get something out. This is what's coming to my mind. I want to try to use it as a way to heal my pain that I'm going through, but I think ultimately it doesn't. It doesn't really change things. The fact that I understand stuff. It doesn't really make you happier. Like, really, what would make a human happier is to be able to fit in. To have somebody who really gets them, which is, as I've explained before, another thing that's nearly impossible these days just because of hyper individualism and how basically nobody has that. Like, nobody has that degree of because that's what's been created. I mean, we basically created a world where you don't find anybody who gets you. Like, it's very difficult to, because we've engineered such a diverse amount of outcomes that people don't really follow usual archetypes. You know? And that's the thing is, yeah, I mean, being understanding is one thing, but understanding doesn't really make you feel good. Like, it just kind of, in some ways, maybe it makes you feel worse. It makes you feel like sad. I don't know. But yeah, that was my shot at trying to talk about something. I guess it was still a fairly interesting conversation, but I don't know. I wonder how much more of this I'm going to be able to take. I'm sure most people would already be past their limit, you know. Wow, this guy was driving pretty crazy. He was like swerving between cars for absolutely no reason. Sorry, just having a bunch of thoughts come in. It's been really hard. I'm gonna be honest, it's been really hard. I'm pretty surprised. It's pretty miraculous I even came up with anything to talk about, like, based on the way I'm feeling. But now I'm just repeating myself because I'm running very low on steam on things to say, but I'm satisfied. I mean, it was a pretty interesting commentary, but we're not quite at work yet, you know? And I'm just tired. I just kind of want things to be over with. That's why I think I need to just do the short day today. I don't know. I'm trying. Continuing to try. And I mean, the same goes for my own strengths and weaknesses, you know, like I didn't really ask for them, you know? I didn't ask for them. I was just given them. So it doesn't really make sense to feel like I'm actually better or, you know, things like that. Because I mean, yeah, I eat just as easily might have not been. It just really depends. So, I don't think it really makes that much sense to associate with yourself because you really could be anybody. It's not like, I don't know, like you are incarnate as a human, but really you could be within any human's flesh. Like, that's why to take credit for something that you did as in you did it doesn't really make a ton of sense. That's why I think that idea of thanking God makes a lot of sense, because that really would make more sense. Some kind of bigger, larger, connected thing is why you were able to do it. You know, not... I'm very confused about that guy. Just had his... I wonder if he had his wrong turn signal on the whole time. Because it was... He went the opposite way. He was... Yeah, I don't... He had his turn signal on for like a really long time, and then he just went the opposite way his turn signal was facing. So like, how does that make... That doesn't make any sense. I feel like he might have had the wrong signal on or something. Oh, right, we're supposed to get over. Yeah, see, today's not really, I'm honestly surprised with how good that, like, I don't think it's a great episode. I think it's just probably like a fine episode. I am shocked at the vocal performance. Like, honestly, just stop watching now, because it's not going to be good here on out. I'm way too drained. I'm way too depleted. I just want to shut off. I guess I could stop the recording, you know? I could do that, but I'm probably just not going to do that. But I'm saying, like, I'm done. I can't believe I said what I was able to say. That's it. It was crazy that I was able to, like, come up with all that. And yeah, it's just I don't really know what's going on. Like I said, my days here are numbered. They're not really going to be this way. You know, I think it's kind of a wrap in a lot of ways. I don't know either way, really. I mean, even if it's the good ending for now, I think it'll lead to being like a bad ending in the future. You know, it's like the main thing. It'll end up being a lot of security and trust has been shattered. So that just don't work. Yeah, I realize with people in the lights, they probably just can't even calculate the lights the way I do. Because, like, the way these people drive doesn't make any sense. Like, this guy just, like, merged around me, sped ahead, and now I'm right behind him. Like, stuck at the same light. I just feel like you can't make this stuff up. But it's because people, there's probably some kind of an ego people have when they drive. Like, some people, it just feels good to pass somebody. Like, that just gives them like a good feeling. um it's also like perceptively getting ahead, even though you almost never do. There's like a few things there, you know. So I don't really know, but it's just always silly because time and time again people do it, and then it really does not get them anywhere. Like, they don't get ahead. I don't. Time and time again, like, I see it all the time. It's very rare that by somebody doing that they actually get anywhere. So I think it's mostly a perceptive thing. But we're definitely gonna reach. We're gonna reach my job at a record time today, because I did leave fairly early. I don't think I left a record early, but I also was driving fairly fast. So I think driving faster probably gets me to work 2 or 3 minutes earlier. So it's probably not even worth it, considering the presumptive slight loss in mile per gallon and car longevity, because the car has to do more work. You're also wearing tires slightly more. But yeah, I think yeah, I don't really have much else to point out about that, I guess. Actually, I don't really remember what the record is. I mean, this could be the record, but it also might be tied for the record. I don't. My memory's horrible now. My memory's not horrible. You have to try to get your laughs in somehow, right? It's like, instead of getting your steps in, it's getting your laughs in. Because you have to try to be. You have to try to keep your head up. All right, my friends. Whoa! I think that might have been, darn it, that might have been near the closest one I've ever struck. Wow, that was crazy. I saw 57 for a split second, and then 58 for the seconds. And then that's when I burst out with the whoa! And then I just hit the punch in. Because, like, oh my gosh. that is that is danger close. Well, that's cool. Then I don't think we've been here this early before in that case. It's probably a big record, but probably a huge record. Alrighty. Well, I think we're just about done. About done which la. Actually, yeah, I don't really know how much later. I honestly don't even know. Like, going, it's just so hard to test, because you would have to test it with like zero other cars on the road. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't. I barely. You barely even get there. it just might be like 2 to 3 minutes faster if you go like 60 instead of 50. I don't even. It's like crazy how people don't even understand that, and the amount of extra stress you're putting on the car, you know? All right, guess we should be getting ourselves together, right? That's really what we need to be doing. All right, there's that. And then here's this. All right. All right, I just did the wrong thing. I closed the bag pocket I'm going into. All right. Anyways, it's been schla, and now it's time to buy schla. So, see you schla.